Episode 35 now. Like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. We took a little bit of a week off. It's not a lot of huge Bears news. A little bit of bull stuff to talk about just because what everything's going on. White Sox, Cubs, not much to say. The Blackhawks made a few interesting trades. Taylor Hall, a few people. So we'll try and touch base on all that. But to start with our namesake, the Chicago Bears. Again, not much going on. Just chatter in the headlines, projections, what people think. Um,
Yeah, we're in that kind of dead zone where there's not really much. I mean, if you go on Twitter and stuff like that, you see the Bears players are tweeting, the progress during the offseason. A lot of them are still working in the offseason as opposed to, going on vacations and stuff like that. They're getting ready for training camp coming up here pretty soon. They're still, they keep saying, hey, we're going to add an edge before training camp, but yet nothing has come of it.
yeah,
We
time
haven't
is
seen
ticking.
anything.
Yeah, that's the only thing I'm worried about. I've been pretty happy with everything that happened so far in the off season, but it is concerning. I don't know if um, Foles is playing hardball or none of the free agents want to come to our team. I don't know exactly what it is, but I would like to have somebody, like I said, before training camp, come in and, like I said, be a for sure number one edge rusher who's going to get us 10 sacks, 8 to 10 sacks. So we can book it. I think
The
that's all we need.
Mm, did you say? Did you ask if I think that's all we need?
No, I mean obviously we need more. I just think that's all I would need to feel comfortable like going into the
Confident
season.
going in.
Yeah.
I mean, did you see how ripped Darnell Mooney looks?
Yeah, a lot of Chase Claypool look good. DJ Moore looks. A lot of people are gushing about DJ Moore. Tyler Scott said he's a stud. Like you said,
A
Darnell
lot of people,
Mooney has been in the
a lot
lab.
of people are also giving Chase Claypool shit because he went and he modeled in France
That
for
guy's
those
weird.
few days. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being weird, but I mean, you already have front office questioning your commitment to the team and to football, and you go off and you model that doesn't really
Yeah, I don't.
boost confidence, from the front office and your head coaches and stuff like that when you're doing that. I mean, if it's in it was in his free time, so he's free to do whatever the fuck he wants. More power to him. But you know, you should be studying the playbook, dude. You should be building a rapport with your quarterback. I don't know. Maybe that's just my way of thinking. I don't really know. I mean,
Yeah, I'm the same
people
way.
like
I
Tom
mean,
Brady, people like Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and stuff, they get away with that shit because they're the best at their positions, and Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time.
and I
So
think they were more when they were Claypool's age. They didn't do that shit.
no,
They did it when they won their MVP, got a couple super, got a Super Bowl trophy. Now, like you can kind of be a prima donna. He's being one, and he's had like hasn't had a good season since his rookie season. But I mean, that's on him. Like you said, Darnell Mooney looks like a savage. I hope that lights a fire under him. I thought he played very well. Um, so I hope we can keep him on the field the whole year. Hopefully, strengthen it up. We'll keep him getting injured. Tyreek Stevenson, our rookie corner, everyone's been talking about how good he looks, how fast he looks, how NFL ready he seems to be. I hope that's the case. Vildor, as much as I like his effort and his heart, is complete trash. Um, and I don't like saying that about NFL players because obviously they're in the NFL. But I mean, I just watched all the Bears games, but he's like the worst corner I've ever seen. That's at least been on the Bears. Um, so it'll be good to see Tyreek out there. He's got the size, the speed. Vildor is really undersized as well. Um, but the defense, I'm outside of the passers, I'm not so much worried about. I think Sanborn and Edwards and Tremont Edmonds will really lead the defense as a whole and make them competent. I don't see us giving up more than 30 points a bunch of games this year.
yeah, the defense is definitely much improved, even with the depth that they added at the defensive line position with the two draft picks this year. Demarcus Walker helps a little bit coming off the edge, though he's not going to be the solution long term. We all know that we need somebody, whether it being free agency. We're hoping in free agency, but realistically, we're probably looking at the 2024 draft,
Yeah,
defensive end,
maybe a
edge, you know what
trade.
I'm saying? So we just kind of have to be realistic on that. We expected, you know, a lot, even us talking now, like we're all, hey, you know, Ryan Poles has done such a great job this offseason. We're going to be, you know, competitive this year, blah, 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 blah. But he told us from the get-go, not everything was going to be fixed in one offseason. So he kind of warned us that if he doesn't make the move, hey, I kind of told you guys that I, you know, can't do everything in one offseason. So I can't really put the blame on him for that, but there has to be some kind of improvement made. You can't go into the season with the same roster that you did, hoping that just the improvement from the rookies and the young guys making that leap is going to be enough. From what I
Mm,
understand, there is a lot of confidence in Coach Eberflus coaching up that defense along with Alan Williams. For me, Alan Williams is on the hot seat. You have this much improved defense in terms of the roster, with the exception of the edge spot. If you go in and you just get dumped on, then there's going to be an issue.
yeah. Um, but yeah, the Bears, we're just getting ready. Training camp soon. Hopefully, we, like I said, we go out and we get one of these pass rushers, either if it's free agency or a trade. Chase Young, Daniil Hunter, all those guys. But again, not so much to talk about. But the Bulls, they seem to be getting mentioned a lot in these big name trades. James Harden, Damian Lillard, not necessarily as end up getting Damian Lillard or Harden, but as like the third team. I personally think they should be going after Damian Lillard or Harden.
Well, Damian Lillard's agent has made contact with all other interested parties that are wanting to trade for Damian Lillard and have pretty much told them that if you are not Miami and you trade for Damian Lillard, you will be trading for an unhappy player.
Mm,
Damian Lillard wants to be in Miami. That's the only place he wants to be.
well,
And we
I
talked
think
about this.
I don't. This time, I don't, unless the offer I've seen is Tyler Hero, like Duncan Robinson, um, Nikola Jovic. They're, he's a nice little rookie wing, like a power forward, and then like an unprotected 2027 first or something. And that's just not enough. Um, and this Dame, oh, I'm only gonna go there type thing. It's like, well, who cares, buddy? Like that, you're not gonna strong arm us into ruining our team. He just signed an extension last year. Why didn't he just say, you know what, I don't want to sign an extension, trade me to Miami? Then at least that package wouldn't be that bad. And then Miami's got to be the one to re-sign you and do all that stuff. And like, so I don't know. I didn't like that about Dame. The last like 5 years, he's been gung ho about, oh, I want to stay and win for my city, yada yada yada, X Y Z. And now he's like, well, I only want to go play for the team that uh, just lost in the finals. Like,
Yeah, and the one thing I do like what about what the Bulls have done so far, it hasn't been much, let's be honest.
yes,
They signed a couple of 3 and D you know, wings. They signed
yep,
the shooting guard and then a small forward. That's a 3 and D. They need 3-point shooting. They need to space the floor a little bit more. There was talks about Derrick Rose possibly coming back. He ended up signing in Memphis, which, you know, is kind of like a homecoming to him anyway, since that's where he played, was the University of Memphis.
yeah,
He'll be John Morant's mentor, I guess you could say. And realistically, I mean, if you're gonna have anybody mentor John Morant, you might want to be Derrick Rose, you know, a
yeah,
kid coming up in the hood and, you know what I'm saying, and, you know, making it and being a good example of a ball player as opposed to what John Morant's doing now, even though John Morant didn't, you know, like he didn't have Derrick Rose's life growing up, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah.
you know, a good mentor, good, you know, good for Derrick Rose. Um, it's a shame because he had so much potential before he got hurt, and
Yeah,
a lot of us knew it when it happened. When it happened first, you know, there was that glimmer of hope that maybe he'd be able to come back, like a lot of players do sometimes. But when he tore it the second time, the opposite knee, I knew he was done. I was just like,
Yeah,
this is
a sad story for Chicago. Um,
it's
but
that
it's nice
point
to
guard.
see Derrick Rose go to a winning team and not have to be on the Bulls and deal with all that pressure and be on a crappy team. Um, the Bull, like I said, I think the Bulls should be in on this Damian Lillard, James Harden thing. It's really their only hope is they get an ex superstar who maybe they turn back the clock one year. You know what I mean? I don't know. I personally think maybe they take a stab at Chris Paul, maybe trade DeRozan to the Warriors for Chris Paul, something like that. I don't know, but what they have now, I'm just confident they're going to be what they were last year or worse. And why even do that? Why not trade Levine and like? Can you trade injured players in the NBA? Like Levine, Lonzo, fucking Pat Will, and couple first, and go get Dame. Like, and at least try because no free agents are coming to the Bulls. It's just not happening. I don't know the next time they're going to be drafting in the top 10, top 5. So it's like you might as well go in for Dame. I think Harden would be a very good fit for the Bulls. I thought Russ would have been a good fit for the Bulls. He signed for really cheap um, with the Clippers, so that kind of sucked. But I just hope they make a move. Mo Bamba, Bol are out there. Like, there's a few like uh low risk, high reward guys out there that you can go and get and like maybe have a good season. Like, who knows? Or they don't
Yeah,
have anything to lose.
Jerry Reinsdorf apparently supposedly gave AK the go ahead to, go into the cap penalty, but so far the moves have not suggested that AK is willing to do that. I just me personally fuck. Me personally, I think James Harden's done. I think he's washed. Um I would not want James Harden on the Bulls. Um but Dame would be an interesting prospect if it were, if you could somehow convince him that he's better off in Chicago than Miami. I don't know how that would work.
I mean, he's
Um,
100%. It's just easier. It's the East. Anywhere in the East is going to be easier for him to make it. Realistically, he'd probably be paired with DeRozan and Vujicic, which probably is better than anything he's ever really had. Not saying it's a
yeah,
big
because
three, but
Zach LaVine would have to be part of that
yeah,
package for the salaries to work.
yeah. I don't know. I think James Harden the MVP's wash, but I think he's like if he plays 35 minutes a lock, he's like a 35 minutes a night. He's a lock for like 20 and 10. He doesn't play good defense, but he's a great facilitator. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and he's got the propensity to heat up and drop 40. I think the Bulls have really no main ball handlers. Looks like they're going to lose Ayo, the first guy they've drafted that turned out to be anything, and the Bulls can't keep him. It's like the tale as old as time for the Chicago Bulls that they cannot keep their homegrown talent. They always find a way to screw it up, and he's not a world beater. He's not an all-star, but he's a really good NBA player, a good, solid backup point guard, sixth, seventh man, and the Bulls are going to miss him, and they should have made it a priority to keep him. Hopefully, Pat will take a step, but I've been trashing him for a year now. No offense to the kid, I just think if you don't got it, you don't got it in the NBA. Like, okay, every once in a while, some guy's a late bloomer, year 5, he figures it out, but you usually see the flashes, and I just have not seen any Pat Will flashes like ever.
I mean, yes and no. It just seems like he's kind of timid, and you can't be that if you're an NBA ball player. You have to be aggressive. You have to be assertive. It just seemed like he was, and a lot of the games last year, he was nowhere to be found. There was a
He
lot of
doesn't want
stat
the
lines
ball.
where, yeah, there was a lot of stat lines where he was putting up like one or two shots, and
He
you
shot
expect
like
that.
40% from three. I'm pretty sure, or close to that. And
Yeah,
it's like,
you can't. You got to pull the trigger.
yeah.
Like even if you're cold, pull the trigger. Keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting, keep shooting. You got to take more than 2, 3, 4, 5 shots a game. If you're a 20-year-old number 4 overall pick, you have to. You cannot try to build your game doing that. And you're not like a world beater defensive player. It's not like you're Ben
I
Wallace
mean, he could be.
where
I think that's where I think he should really focus and just make that his niche. Because I just, like you said, he doesn't have the aggressiveness to do it on offense. Maybe, like I said, he'll flip that switch. But again, I just do not see it in him.
Well, I don't think that's the case. I think if they were going to do this and they really wanted to see what Pat Will was, you should have let Vooch walk. You should have traded DeRozan and you should have traded Levine, got whatever you could for him, and run it back. Do the young Bulls thing again. I mean, it was horrible for the 99, 2000, 2001 season when they were doing it with Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry, but that was the only way you were going to see what these guys had. DeRozan puts up too many shots, Zach LaVine puts up too many shots, and I mean, there's not enough to eat in terms of Pat Will trying to develop his game and taking over and try to take enough shots for him to develop his game. But if you make him a focal point of an offense, even if you're going to be terrible, do it just to see what you got. You have to at some point, but
I do agree something like that. I don't know if I don't think Pat Will is ever going to be the focal point. He can't dribble. He dribbles like a robot. Um, so he'll just never been it. But I think he could have had a chance to be a nice, solid number two or a number three. And the Bulls, for whatever reason, cannot develop anybody they get. He had the tools.
yeah, it's been the whole Bulls thing. It's all talk. It was all talk. It was a sham. Jerry Reinsdorf, gave fans the hope or whatever when he said that about AK, and it's being ripped out from underneath us. There's been all this stuff or whatever, them throwing their names in the hat for some of these big name players via trade or whatever. Like I said, it's all smoke and mirrors. They want you to think that they're gonna do this stuff or that they're making an effort because they want us to buy fucking tickets. And Jerry Reinsdorf has always been the guy that has said, you don't want to finish first, you want to finish second because your fans are gonna keep coming back wanting more. Maybe next year's the year, maybe next year's the year, maybe next year's the year. And it's just, look at what he's doing with the White Sox. And you know, the only glimmer of hope we have right now in this city are the Bears and the Blackhawks. Blackhawks, we didn't even get to talk about, the Blackhawks drafting Connor Bedard, number
Yeah.
one in the NHL draft last week. 17-year-old kid, supposed to be a phenom. And then they had, the number 9 overall pick as well. And they ended up picking, like, the Bears and the Blackhawks in terms of a rebuild, to compete further on down the line are doing it a lot better than the Chicago Bulls and the Chicago White Sox. And the Bulls have been a staple in the city for, a long time. We're one of the most celebrated franchises in NBA history because of, Michael Jordan and, we have this allure and this aura around us. And we haven't done shit. We didn't do shit before Jordan. We didn't do shit after Jordan. Like, we got lucky to have Michael, the greatest of all time
For 15
for all
years.
those years, and there was nothing before him and nothing after him. We haven't gotten anything. Like, that was the Jerry Reinsdorf was like, that's all I need. That's all I needed was that.
Yeah,
We
well, I
got the
guess it's
greatest.
weird you said that when he's like, "Oh, you want them to be number two," when it's like when the Bulls were the best team in the league, like, and everybody knew they were going to win. It was still like the peak of the NBA experience.
Yeah, and you took a look at what we got as White Sox fans when we won the World Series in 2005. What have we been saying every year since 2005? Like, oh, things will turn around next year. Things will turn around next year. Like, oh, they'll figure it out. They'll sign so and so. They'll go after, and it doesn't happen.
Um, kind of, I don't know. The White Sox, I feel like I don't know, they do like half-ass moves, so they make you feel. I don't know. I guess that's how they run both. Like Vooch, Vooch reminds me. The Vooch trade's like a fucking Adam Dunn, Jim Tomei type of trade, where it's like, oh, that guy's pretty good. Like, you know what I mean? They're trying, but are they really? But I also both places aren't a free agent destination for whatever reason. I don't know if people don't want to play in Michael's shadow or what. But they don't want to be in Chicago for the White Sox or the Bulls. Um, the Cubs, I guess the Cubs are so beloved that players love to come there, so they usually can make that happen.
Yeah.
But do you think the White Sox are going to be buyers or sellers? I mean, I don't think they can be buyers. Do you think they're going to sell?
the AL Central is so bad that I think Rick Hahn is going to give fans a word salad explanation as to why he's not selling off the pieces that he is, because the AL Central is bad. I mean, the first place team, I can't even remember who it is right now. I think it's the Twins. They're under 500. Like that's how bad the AL Central is. I think the Sox right now, as it stands, are probably 6 games back, 6 or 7 games back. That's it. And that's good enough to take into October with how bad the AL Central is, and I think Rick Khan knows that. Now, what he should do is tear it down to the studs. I think you keep Luis Robert. He is having a fantastic year. And I think you keep, I mean, Dylan Cease right now isn't even untouchable, but I would keep him as the ace going into next year.
Yeah.
You just keep, Kopech, or not Kopech, you keep Dylan Cease, you keep Luis Robert. Everybody else is available. Tim Anderson, Liam Hendricks, Eloy Jimenez, like all these guys that you thought, you keep those two. You just keep those two, trade everybody else, and just tear it down. You signed Luis Robert to a 6-year, very team-friendly deal, and that kicked in this year. So you might as well run with it. You need some of the best teams in baseball, unless you're the Dodgers, Yankees, Boston Red Sox that have just an unlimited payroll. The best teams in this league, they win from within with their farm system, with the exception of the Angels. The Angels had two of the top generational talents in
They
the
don't
last
win.
25 years, and they don't win.
Yeah, I was gonna say they don't win. So
You know? But farm systems, deep farm systems, is what
yeah.
eventually brings championships. And need that. The White Sox right now have one of the worst farm systems in baseball. And how are you going to rebuild that? You're going to rebuild that with draft picks, and you're going to rebuild that with trading big names. And I think you can get a lot in return. Maybe not so much as what you got for Chris Sale, but for some of your younger starting pitchers or some of your veterans, you can get a couple of top 50 prospects. You can get, some young players. Just take a look at one player in particular. I'm going to use this player as an example of what kind of energy a young top prospect can bring to a baseball team. This kid that's playing for the Cincinnati Reds. The
Oh
Reds are a
yeah.
terrible team, right? They're a bad team, but they have looked unbeatable since this Ellie kid has come up from the minors, and he is amazing. I mean, he's not Shohei Otani amazing. I know a lot of our listeners and stuff like that have heard me say Shohei Otani's name a lot. But this kid is damn good, and he is fast, and he is energetic.
Yeah, he
Like
is super fast.
you know what I'm saying? And he's good for baseball. He's a young black kid who is having fun, and he's amazing at what he does. Like he's got that Tim Anderson swag. That Tim Anderson, he likes to have fun, but he's also 10 times better than Tim Anderson is. And I think it's good for baseball. I know a lot of, African Americans out there, they don't really look at baseball as a sport that they want to play. They go more to basketball, football, things like that. But I think guys like Tim Anderson and this Ellie kid and stuff like that, are having success at the major league level. I think it's good for the African American community for these kids to possibly look into baseball as another sport to go out there and play. And that just brings more talent pool to the majors,
Yeah.
to them being baseball as a whole. And I think baseball needs that because we're so used to having the Dominicans and, the Mexicans and, stuff like that, all the Southern Hemisphere. um,
Yeah, when we
you
were
know,
growing up in the '80s, there was a lot of great black players, and for
mhm.
some reason in the '90s, after Griffey, it kind of faded out. Um, and I agree, it's kind of what you said. It's like baseball is like this no fun league. We can't talk shit, can't gloat. It's like people don't like that.
Yeah. And, like I said, but I think it'll be good for baseball. But yeah, they need to tear it down from the studs. They need to they need to be sellers. If they want to have any kind of shot in the future, if Rick Hahn wants to sell to Jerry or the fans that he deserves to be in the spot he's in. He needs to sell off whatever assets he can, and he needs to recoup some draft picks and some young players to build up their farm system. I think that's the only way within the next 5 years that the White Sox can even start competing again. Because if they keep running it back like they do every year, it's going to turn into the same result. You're going to get this close and you're not going to make it. I mean, you're going to be mediocre. You're going to be mediocre the whole time, and it's like watching the Bulls. You're running it back. The Bulls will probably be a play-in team, or they'll get the eighth seed in the East, and they'll lose in the first round, and that'll be just good enough for the average fan and everything else like that because oh well at least we made the playoffs. It's like that's not even good enough anymore. You are a top 3 market in the United States. Just making the playoffs is
Yeah.
not good enough anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. But all right, slow week. Do a little short video. Like I said, not much to talk about. We could go on and on and on complaining about the Bulls and the Bears, or the Bulls and the White Sox, and how poorly Jerry runs the organization. But do us a favor, like, follow, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Let us know what you don't like about Jerry Reinsdorf. And
A long list.
a very long list. And I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Don't forget to follow me on Twitter.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well as
TikTok. Oh, yeah, all that shit, too.
Make sure
All right.
you follow.
All right.
All
Adios,
right, I'll
buddy.
see you.
Yes, sir.